Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new and don't know who I am, my name is Brianna, aka Dollface PA. If you are returning, welcome back. If you're new, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm so happy that you're here. Today, the topic at hand is going to be my first job. And so, it was a pretty long process. Applying, interviewing, getting my CV, resume ready, and I'm here to talk all about that. So the one thing that is very important when looking for jobs is to make sure that you're looking for jobs that will accept new graduates. For me, I found that this was really challenging because a lot of jobs you will see even in the description requires at least 2 years of experience. Sometimes they even get as specific as to say, requires 2 years of experience in that field. So some jobs will just be like, you just have to have experience as a PA for 2 to 3 years or whatever. Other jobs will say you must have 2 years of experience as an OBGYN physician assistant in order to apply for this position. So to me, I was a little taken aback at how challenging the job search was. And that's not to discourage people, because some people hear that and say, oh, well, I thought you said that the demand for PAs was really high. I thought I was going to land a job, no problem. And that is still true. But it comes down to what type of job are you looking for? So when I was in school, as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I was certain that I wanted to be an emergency medicine physician assistant. So the focus of my job search was very narrow in the sense that any other job postings that I would come across, I would just skip, because I was so focused and fixated on doing emergency medicine that that was the only job that I was even willing to consider. I found out very quickly that a lot of emergency medicine positions do require experience, and understandably so. You are in a fast-paced, high-volume type of environment, and, you know, many emergency rooms don't really have the time or, you know, so be it, maybe staff to spend months and months training a new grad that knows nothing. So I understand that. And once I started to realize that I may not be able to land an emergency medicine job, or let me rephrase that, the emergency medicine job that I wanted straight out of school, I began to take the blinders off a little bit and open up my options. Because there are emergency medicine jobs that will hire you out of school. I do want to say that. But the ones that I was looking for were looking for people that had experience. So after that, I kind of took the filters off of my search. Oh, and let me say that I did use Indeed. I used LinkedIn. I used Indeed. I used your normal job search engines. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't anything, you know, secretive that I used to find my job. So, yeah, I just took the filters off, because you can literally filter it. I would put in physician assistant, then I would type in the keywords emergency medicine or emergency room. So those were the only postings that were showing. So when I took that filter off, the floodgates kind of opened. There were job postings so long, I couldn't even look through every one of them. And I kind of was a little, stunned, because I was like, I've never really considered doing anything other than emergency medicine. So I don't really even know what else I would want to do. And I do want to mention that I started looking for jobs about 6 to 7 months prior to graduation. So I was still in school, because for me, some people say that they are not really interested in working immediately after finishing school. That wasn't my story. I wanted to work right away. I was ready to get paid. I was ready to start my life. So just as I mentioned in the video that I talked about the pants, I took my pants right after graduation. I wanted to start working right away. So my advice would be, if you're looking to start working pretty soon after graduation, you should start your job search about 6 months prior to graduation, because onboarding for your job is an entire process. And it took me 3 months to get onboarded and credentialed for my job. So even after I accepted my job, passed my boards, all of that happened in the end of May. I didn't start my job until August. It takes that long to go through background check, privileges, onboarding. It's a very long process. So you kind of want to get ahead of the game if you can, if you're looking to start working soon. So the way I found my current job was actually through word of mouth. Obviously, everybody knows networking is key in any field. And I heard about the position in New York City. I applied to it, not really wanting to necessarily live in New York City, but it was a kind of a situation where I just didn't have a job and I wanted a job. And I saw an internal medicine posting and I was like, oh, okay, like it's not the same as emergency medicine, but there are some similarities in the sense that it's very broad and you get to see everything. So it was a job that I applied to. I heard back relatively quickly. I received an email. They said that we want to do a phone interview. I had a phone interview about 2 months later after the initial application. And then they called me back and said, we want to do another phone interview, which was about a month after the first interview. So I did that interview. And then I didn't hear anything back for like an entire month. So I didn't think I got the job. So in the meantime, I'm still applying for jobs. I did get another interview for a GI position. I applied to several different positions in every field. But the only other interview, actually, I got another interview for an emergency medicine position, but it was in Maryland, wasn't really interested in it. So I did the interview, but I did not accept the position. And the GI interview that I got, I actually never even ended up going to because I ended up accepting my job that I have now before that interview even took place. But let me back it up a little bit. And so after the second phone interview that I had for my job that I have now, I didn't hear anything back for a month, didn't think I got the job. I was pretty discouraged, still applying to jobs, had a couple of phone interviews in the meantime, and then I got a call and they said, we want you to come to New York for an in-person interview. And I'm just like, okay, this is my third interview. And I'm like, I don't really want to live in New York, but should I go? I was really on the fence about even coming to the job interview, but I was like, whatever, I don't have anything to lose. I don't have a job. I'll just go and see. Came for the job interview. It went great. I love the hospital. I love the staff. I ended up accepting the job. So that's kind of how I got to where I'm at now. But there's a lot that goes into getting to that point, obviously. So first and foremost, your CV, your resume is going to be very, very important. As a new grad, you're not going to have hardly anything on your resume or your CV. Like, let's be honest, like you're a new grad, you don't have experience. So it's totally appropriate to put your clinical rotations on there, any community service that you did, any memberships that you have, anything that you did. It's good to put that on your resume to make you look like a packaged candidate. In terms of the interview, it's also very important to make yourself an appealing candidate by highlighting your strengths, as you all know. I mean, I'm sure you've had a job interview before, but I think one of the things that stands out about new grads when you're interviewing is just the honesty to admit that you don't really know a lot, but also letting them know that I'm willing to learn, I'm able to learn, I'm excited to learn, I'm a fast learner, I work well on a team. Obviously, all of the things that would make you stand out and make them want to hire you. And my number one piece of advice for an interview is be yourself. I think so many times when people are doing interviews, they're trying so hard to look so prim and proper and packaged and perfect and professional that the humanity leaves them. And a lot of these managers are looking at you and they want you to be professional, of course, but they also want to know that you are going to be somebody that they want on their team. At the end of the day, you spend a lot of time with the people you work with. They want to know, are you somebody that I can trust? Are you somebody that I can count on? Are you someone that I enjoy being around? Are you fun? Are you funny? Are you personable? Show that side of yourself to them. Do it in a professional way, but show that side to them. I mean, if you say something in an interview that's funny, laugh. You're a person. They want to see that side of you. And yes, you will be nervous, and it's okay to admit that. Sometimes I think that just putting it out there in the air it humanizes you. You can say, you know, I am really nervous right now, but you know, it's okay. And the interview goes however you want it to go. And the questions are obviously very, very different. I could go into the specifics of it, but a lot of my interview questions were surrounding my clinical rotations because obviously they know that I'm a new grad. So they're not asking me about experiences from prior jobs because they know that you don't have a prior job, but they may ask you to describe a scenario where you had XYZ happen and how did you respond? Or they may say, describe a difficult situation where XYZ happened and how did you handle it? Things like that. And obviously, when you're interviewing for a job, you always should be listening to the question that they're asking, yes, but listening to the deeper meaning of what they're really trying to elicit from you. So though they may be asking you to give an example of a difficult situation that you encountered on a clinical rotation, what they're really trying to elicit from you is how do you handle pressure? How do you handle conflict? That's what they're really asking you. And so when you can start to listen through what they're really asking you, you can answer the way that they want you to. And I actually think I would like to, I don't know, maybe open up the floor. Like if anybody has questions, if you're at that point where you're about to start applying for jobs and you need help with interview prep, I can really help you with that because it's something that I think I do really well with and I did a really good job at, I think at least. And I would love to be a help to some people. I can give you tips on how to manage your anxiety, manage the nerves, because it is a nerve-wracking process. I definitely can help. I'm going to put some links down in the description box for a template for a CV, template for a resume for a new grad that is looking for their first job. That's exactly what I'm going to do because somebody had given me a template and it really helped me. They want your resume to be short, concise. Nobody wants to read a 5-page resume. Anybody that ever told you that the longer, the better, they lied. These employers are busy. They want a suitable candidate. They don't have time to read an essay, straight up. So I'm going to leave the links below. I got my job. I moved to New York. I started my job. My job is so excellent because they have a very robust new grad training program. So I was actually in training for a full 6 months. So that just meant that I was working alongside another PA at my job and on my team for 6 months. And I loved that because by the end of that 6 months, I felt fully capable, competent, and able to do my job. So that is one thing that I think is very important when you are interviewing for your first job. At the end, when they say, do you have any questions for me? The answer is always yes. The answer is always yes, because what they are asking when they're asking, do you have any questions for me? They are trying to really gauge how interested are you really in this position. Once again, you always have to think about the answer that they're trying to elicit when they're asking you a question. So when they say, do you have any questions? And you say, no, I don't have anything else. I think you pretty much answered everything. A lot of employers take that as she's not really that interested in this position. She doesn't even have any questions for us. My advice is to come up with at least 3 very, very good questions to ask your interviewer. One question that I would definitely suggest asking if it hasn't already been answered throughout the course of the interview is, what is your training like for new grads? That's a very important question because you never want to find yourself in a job where you're a new grad and you know nothing. And I do want to say that because as a new grad, you will know nothing. Clinical medicine is very, very different from textbook medicine. And though you will be prepared to be a PA, a lot of the learning and training is on the job. You learn as you do it. And you want to be in an environment that is conducive to learning. You want to be in a healthy work environment where you will be well supported to do that. You want to be in an environment that is going to set you up for growth and development. And these are all answers that you should have after walking away from your job interview. I knew for sure after I walked away from my job interview that I wanted that job because they were very, very expressive about the time and the resources that they put into training their new grads. And I felt that I would be very well supported and ultimately I would feel comfortable caring for patients on my own by the end of my training. And so definitely make sure that you are looking for jobs that have a robust training program for new grads. I cannot stress that enough. It is nothing scarier than getting to the end of your training or lack of training or whatever your job may or may not offer and feeling like, oh my gosh, I am responsible for another person's life and I have no idea what I'm doing. That is the most horrifying feeling that I can't think of a scarier feeling. So that would be one of my pearls for your job interview and for your job search. If they tell you that they don't have a training program in place for new grads, run for your life. That is not a job that you want. They're setting you up for failure. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And don't settle. Don't settle. The job for you is out there. You may have to turn a couple of jobs down. You may have to turn down a good job while you're waiting for that great job offer to come through, and that's okay. Don't be discouraged. I had colleagues, I had friends who waited a year after graduation before they actually landed the right job, but I promise you the wait is worth it. It's not always about the money because, as I explained in my previous video, the salary will vary based on what field you're in, but money isn't everything. If you can't go to work every day and feel fulfilled, feel supported, and really be happy and feel that your work matters, that's not the job for you. You worked really, really hard to get to this point, and you deserve to be in a job where you feel comfortable, where you feel seen, and where you feel like what you do is really making a difference, and where you feel confident in your ability to do that. And yeah, so my role as an internal medicine hospitalist PA, we care for the patients that are admitted to the hospital. So when you go to the emergency room, one of two things happens. They either discharge you home from the emergency room or you get admitted to the hospital, which means you're hospitalized in layman's terms. When you get hospitalized, you don't stay in the emergency room. They move you upstairs to the medicine floor. That's where I work. Yours truly. That's where you will find the internal medicine team, the hospitalists. That's what we do. So we care for all the patients that are admitted at the hospital. And it's awesome because we see everything, anything you can imagine, we see it. And I think that's why I was so happy with ultimately deciding to go into internal medicine, because it is very similar to emergency medicine in the sense that no 2 days are the same. Every day I go to work, I don't know what I'm going to see. I don't know what types of patients are going to be on my service. You just never know. So there's a lot of variety. There's a lot of variability. Some patients are very sick, step down ICU level patients. Other patients are there for social work issues. They need placement at a nursing home. So, I mean, it's a very broad spectrum, and I love that about my job. I see patients of all ages. Internal medicine is adults only. So we only see people aged 18 and up. I do not see children. And I see patients all the way through the end of life. I've had patients as old as 102 years old. And I love the work that I do. It is amazing. I love it. Anybody that is, you know, getting to the end of their physician assistant education and still not really sure what field they want to go into, I would encourage you to explore internal medicine. There's so much in it. There's geriatrics in it because obviously with the way the baby boomer curve has gone, a lot of our population is over 75. There's palliative care in it, having goals of care and end of life discussions with families. There's so much in it. It is such a rewarding field to be in. And I don't know how long I'll be in it, but I am just taking it day by day and enjoying it. And if you have more questions about what internal medicine entails, I'd be happy to go into what my day-to-day looks like, but I can do that on an individual basis. I don't want this video to be too long. It probably already is long, but whatever. So I think in my next video, I'm going to talk about what my experience was like as a frontline worker in the epicenter of the COVID pandemic. Anybody that's been alive for the last year knows how bad things were here in New York City. And working on the medicine floor at the hospital, where at one point 100% of the patients at our hospital had COVID back in March, April of 2020, I have a story to share, but I'm going to talk about that on the next video. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Can't wait to see you guys again. Love you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. There's my kisses for my doll babies. Love you guys. Be blessed. Bye.